This presentation is on Alzheimer. This is an applied aspect, so we will take about the Alzheimer topic. What is the definition of Alzheimer? It is a chronic, irreversible degeneration of neurons associated with toxic accumulation of specific protein, that is amyloid beta 42. There is a loss in episodic memory. This is also natural in old age, and in that condition it is known as mild cognitive impairment. Mild cognitive impairment. But in Alzheimer there is a progressive loss of memory, and we say it degenerative dementia. So in Alzheimer there is a chronic irreversible degeneration of neuron and progressive loss of memory. Now the A of the Alzheimer associated with 8 is A of Alzheimer associated with 8 is. There are how many alphabets in it? Alzheimer excluding A is 8 alphabets. So there are 8 A's can be associated with disease Alzheimer. First is the age. The dementia occur in early age, maybe before 40-35 years of the age. Atrophy of the hippocampus. A for aphasia is difficulty in speech or speech disorder. Apraxia is delayed voluntary movement. Agnosia is inability to recognize familiar objects. And AB beta 42 is amyloid beta 42. APP amyloid precursor peptide. And A again is amyloid imaging. The results are very promising. So 8 A's are associated with Alzheimer. Next slide, Alzheimer. Alzheimer disease is the most common cause of dementia. So the most common feature of this disease is dementia, and more than 50% of the dementia cases is due to Alzheimer in Western countries. So, and it occurred in 10 to 15% of the population. So it is the most common cause of dementia which precipitated in Alzheimer disease. Now next point is the age is the strongest risk factor. Second risk factor is racial. Third risk factor is genetics. And the fourth risk factor is environmental or socio-economic. So we will find age is the first and the strongest risk factor. Senile dementia usually occur after 65 years. But if it occurs in the middle age or before 30, 45 years or 50 years, then we have to consider it as Alzheimer disease. Second risk factor, that 50% of the chances to develop genetically if there is a family history. Fourth, education play a very important role. So the characteristics, symptoms of the Alzheimer is that dementia develop 2 or 3 years after the development of mild cognitive impairment. So first the mild cognitive impairment is developed, and after that dementia develops. Then verbal and visual episodic memory are lost first. Then focal symptoms like aphasia, apraxia, agnosia occurred. Next slide. During its development of Alzheimer's disease, what are the symptoms appear? First, loss of the spatially of recent and episodic memory. So the first there is a loss of recent and episodic memory. So later on, the patient will develop symptoms with extrapyramidal lesion, and later on the loss of spatial orientation. That is the main symptoms which develop during the development of full-fledged Alzheimer's disease. Now, the development of Alzheimer's disease can be diagnosed by the following points. First, there is a history of the familial history. Second, during MRI, we will find atrophy in hippocampus and atriorenal septal region of the forebrain. Then, presence of apolipoprotein E4, eta 4, hippocampal atrophy is seen, and during scanning, hypoperfusion and hypometabolism in temporal parietal area is observed. Besides scanning, amyloid imaging shows promising results, and there is a earliest loss occur in the entorhinal region of medial temporal lobe. So the cytopathological hallmarks. This is very important point. There are two hallmarks which are related with the Alzheimer's disease. So the cytopathological hallmarks are: number one, intracellular neurofibrillary tangle. Intracellular neurofibrillary tangle, and the second one is extracellular amyloid plaque. So they are the two hallmarks which is very characteristics of the AD. Number one is the intracellular neurofibrillary tangle. Now here you will find tangles, and outside of this you will find plaques. So this is an inflammatory condition because the accumulation of toxic substance. Next slide. It is amyloid imaging in Alzheimer's disease and in mild cognitive impairment. Now the mild cognitive impairment is of three grades: mild, moderate and severe. Amyloid imaging agents is known as Pittsburgh compound B here is a normal in control condition. Why it is high in MCI means mild cognitive impairment grade 2 and 3, and more high in Alzheimer's disease. So in this diagram, in the control subject, compound B Pittsburgh is normal. Slight variation here, more deposition which is shown here, and the maximum in Alzheimer's patient. This is the red shows maximum accumulation and purple shows minimum. So what is intracellular neurofibrillary tangles? This tangle is due to hyperphosphorylated form of TAU protein, which is normally bind to microtubules. Next slide. Deposition of amyloid plaques extracellular, or you can say extracellular formation of amyloid plaques. So amyloid plaques are made up of beta amyloid peptides, which is surrounded by reactive glial cells. Beta amyloid polypeptides are formed by the amyloid precursor protein APP. So the APP on hydrolyzed, it forms the beta amyloid polypeptide. But if it had hydrolyzed by alpha secretase, then there is polypeptide which is not toxic. But if APP is hydrolyzed by beta or gamma secretase, then this polypeptide consists of 40 to 42 amino acid and it is toxic. So toxic polypeptides are aggregated extracellularly and they stuck to the AMPA receptors and causes increased calcium ion influx and inflammatory response. And this amyloid precursor protein hydrolyzes to the beta amyloid polypeptide containing 42 amino acids responsible for the death of the neuron. And this death is responsible for atrophy of the brain. So the sequence of the events, in short, mutation of amyloid precursor protein gene APP, then aggregation of beta amyloid peptide extracellularly causes inflammatory changes, and there is a damage of the glial cells, which is responsible for the formation of intracellular neurofibrillary tangles and causes degeneration of fibers in Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, memory in hippocampus. Now the two terminology LTP and LTD, long-term potential and the long-term depression, they are responsible for plasticity in the brain. So here in the hippocampus, the learning or memory depends upon LTP and LTD. In hippocampus, there are two types of the fibers, mossy fibers in hippocampus and Scheffer's collaterals. Mossy fibers is here it depends upon the NMDA receptors, independent of NMDA receptors, and they increases the calcium level in presynaptic neuron. While in Scheffer's collateral, it is NMDA dependent and calcium level increases in postsynaptic neuron. So there are both type of the fibers are present in the hippocampus. Mossy fibers and Scheffer's fibers both has different action. The mossy fibers act at presynaptic level while the Scheffer's act at postsynaptic level. Both fibers, by the action of these two fibers, increases the calcium ion. One is independent of NMDA and another is dependent on NMDA. So what happens that nitric oxide transmitter is released from postsynaptic neuron, which causes increased release of glutamate neurotransmitter from the presynaptic neuron. And this from the presynaptic neuron, glutamate releases, which bind it to non-NMDA receptors. And non-NMDA receptor, AMPA receptor, is of more interest. Full form of AMPA is alpha-amino 3-hydroxy 5-methyloxazole 4-propionic acid. Now the sodium and potassium can flow only through this receptor, AMPA receptors. Now because the magnesium ions at NMDA, they blocks the receptor. So there is no entry of the calcium and sodium ions. No depolarization can occur. The same picture here you will find glutamate is the neurotransmitter. NO is released from the postsynaptic membrane. It goes to the presynaptic level. Now the glutamate opens the AMPA receptors. Next slide. Inflammatory damage of neurons. What happens when there is a toxic damage to the neuron? The first is atrophy of the brain, second, narrowing of the gyrus, and widening of sulci. So the gray matter reduces, enlargement of ventricles. It will compress the gray matter, reduction in brain weight. So the hallmark, not in a cytologically, but then in symptom wise, there is a loss of episodic memory. Memory loss of people, places, and things. It is always related with consciousness. And this type of the memory loss is due to the atrophy of the hippocampus and the medial temporal lobes. And hippocampus is the place where short-term memory converts into long-term memory. First thing. Second, LTP as well as LTD is studied first here, so it is also important. Next slide. Emotions and memory in Alzheimer. The cingulate cortex is usually considered a part of the limbic lobe, and it receives and sends impulses to the neocortex. It receives the impulses from the thalamus also. So it receives the impulses or sense information from thalamus as well as neocortex and send impulses to the neocortex. It also projects to entorhinal cortex via the cingulum. So it is a cingulate cortex is an integral part of the limbic system, and it is involved in emotion formation and processing, learning, and memory. So at the level of presynaptic and at the postsynaptic, the neurotransmitters can be enhanced or it can be decreased. In this slide, hippocampus is an important component of Papez circuit, which is connected to the amygdala and concerned with emotional part of the memory. And hippocampus is also a part of the brain where the short-term memory is converted into long-term memory. As you know already that it is related with amygdala as well as it is responsible for conversion of the short-term memory to long-term memory. The Papez circuit is a pathway of the limbic system of the brain, and it helps the cerebral cortex for emotions and retention of memory. Now the next slide is on clinical manifestation of Alzheimer's disease. There are different stages, and we will take one by one. In early stages, unrecognized memory loss. We cannot recognize the person is having some deficit in it. Slowly, the cognitive problems arises, and there is a difficulty, and patient is unaware while others remain acutely attuned to their deficits. There is a disorientation whenever there is changes in environment. In the mid stage, the person is unable to work, easily lost and confused, and may require daily supervision. Language becomes impaired, especially then comprehension and the fluency. Apraxia emerges out, visospatial deficit, and simple calculation and clock reading become difficult in parallel. Next slide, late stage. In the late stage of the AD, Alzheimer, there is a loss of judgment, loss of reasoning. There is a delusion of common and usually simple themes like theft is there, infidelity, misidentification, loss of inhibitions. So the aberrations usually may occur. Sleep-wake pattern is disturbed. Shuffling gait and muscle rigidity. Next slide, end stage. The patient becomes rigid, mute, incontinent, bedridden, and he requires help during eating, dressing, and toileting. Hyperactive tendon reflexes or myoclonic jerks. There is a generalized seizures and death ensues from malnutrition. Mainly, there is a most commonly is by the aspiration. Then secondary infections or pulmonary embolism due to the aspiration or heart disease. Next slide. Consent with the treatment. It is not in detail, but you must know cholinesterase inhibitors are the most commonly used for mild to moderate disease of Alzheimer's, as it decreases the hydrolysis of acetylcholine, which is released from presynaptic neuron. So, by inhibiting acetylcholinesterase, action of the acetylcholine increased on the cholinergic receptors. So, all the drugs, cholinesterase inhibitors, can increases the amount of cholinesterase, acetylcholine, at the level of postsynaptic. So, what are the three drugs which are commonly used nowadays is donepezil, rivastigmine, and galantamine. They are the three cholinesterase inhibitors commonly in use nowadays. Next slide, differential diagnosis of dementias. The most common cause of dementia, no doubt, is Alzheimer's disease. Second most is vascular dementia. Third, alcoholism. And fourth is Parkinson's disease, or in the last, medication intoxication. So, how many years to develop for the full-fledged AD? That is, might be 8 to 10 years, or it may varies from 1 to 25 years. So, in some patient, there is a steady decline in the function, while others have prolonged plateaus. Next slide. Prospective study will shows whether the concept of the activity of the brain and its relationship with AD is there or not. So use it. Use it means use the brain and you can delay the Alzheimer. This is the one concept. Second concept is disuse it and welcome the Alzheimer. So there are the two concepts, use it or disuse it. If you use it, then you can delay the Alzheimer. And if you do not use it, then you can invite Alzheimer. But this is the concept, and still it is debatable whether it is present or not. But the study shows that the plasticity well documented in area of the hippocampus.